Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen is about to make history. He is and will become the first Canadian to fly past the moon as part of the Artemis 2 mission as NASA prepares to ultimately return to the surface of the moon.
And how about that launch that we watched before we started, Eddie?
Yeah, Gary, first and foremost, I know you like to send me on mission with my microphone and camera, but that NASA membership I had as a young man in the 60s during the Apollo missions, I did try to get on the spacecraft or near it, but they basically said I didn't renew my subscription. So sorry, man, I wasn't able to get close to that thing for you.
I've come close a couple of times to being there for a shuttle launch, and came up empty. One was there was illness involved, and the other one was we had bought tickets to go to the launch, get up at 4:00 in the morning to catch the shuttle to go watch the other shuttle, the big one, go off, and only to find out when I turned the TV on to see where the countdown was that it had been scrubbed. They weren't going for another couple of days, so missed that one. But did get to see it while it was on
the... It was. Wow, okay.
Yeah, while it was on the pad. Couldn't get out and have a look around the pad, but we drove around and had a pretty good view from the tour bus at the time. No, the other one is something I'll tell you later. It's a little more involved, but it's one where...
Well, some years ago, to tell you the truth, my wife and I were on Cocoa Beach in Florida, and we didn't know at the time that Cape Canaveral was within eye shot. And we were walking, I think we were walking south on the beach, and we just saw everyone standing up, looking in the opposite direction for a spell. We kept on walking. We didn't think anything of it. And then we had to stop. Like, what on earth are all these people looking at? All of a sudden, you see smoke, a bright light, and a roar. And we actually saw liftoff. It wasn't a space shuttle. Apparently, it was a Falcon rocket that was actually bringing up a payload into space. But just the spectacle of watching that, lasting impression on both of us. So I'm sorry to hear that you didn't get to see an SRS take off into space, the space shuttle take off. But it is quite the spectacle, Gary, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been to the Cape 3 times. Yeah, 3 times. And every time I've gone, it's there's always something new to see and discover, and just to stand there and just look around and just feel. You can still feel the emotion and the energy, or at least I could. And maybe I'm being overly dramatic, I don't know, but I could feel it. I could sense it, and just stand there and wow. It's hard to get your head around it sometimes. However, we do have a Canadian astronaut, and he will be the first Canadian to fly by the moon, and actually the trajectory they're on will take them deeper into space than any humans have gone so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of firsts here, Gary. I mean, historically, this is the first mission since Apollo 17 in December of 1972. So we're talking about 53 years. And astronaut Gene Cernan was the last human to actually walk on the moon, at least that we know of. And we can't forget the Canadian contribution, not just to today, but to the entire Apollo program. If you recall, Gary, our Avro fighter jet program. I mean, our scientists and engineers produced the most state-of-the-art fighter aircraft the world had ever known. And much to the dismay of the superpowers, especially the United States. And we won't go into the conspiracy theory, but the Avro program was scrapped overnight. Thousands of people let go. And that designed this engineering marvel that surpassed any technology for fighter aircraft across the world. they were very, very quicked up by the US government and NASA. So all our engineers and the people who designed the Avro fighter jet went to work for NASA. And lo and behold, the space program of the United States was kicking into overdrive because of Canadian know-how, ingenuity that our people brought along with them, and a lot of them still live in the United States. So you know what? I just want to give a shout out to our engineering capabilities as a country here, which are highly sought after. And as a result of that, we had the Apollo space program, and continuing to that to the space shuttle program, the Canadarm that was capability of repairs in space, and the Canadarm that's actually on the International Space Station. So, you know what, Gary? Proud moments then, and it's been a long time from actually following the space program. Chris Hatfield is a hero of mine. I follow him prolifically on social media. Very, very smart fellow who at one point was the commander of the space station. Very, very, very proud of his accomplishments, and he's very proud of the accomplishments of Jeremy Hansen, as you mentioned, our astronaut that's actually heading out to the moon. And he's also going to be making some tremendous contributions. So that's a first for Canada, the first Canadian that's actually going to be getting to within the moon with a loop around. You know what? We've also got Christina Koch, who's a mission specialist, the first woman to actually go out that far into space as well. So congratulations to her. And we have Victor Glover, who's a pilot, and we have Reed Wiseman, who's the commander of the mission. And let's not forget Jenny Gibbons, who's also a CSA astronaut, and she was a backup. She was a backup to Jeremy Hansen, and she's also working with communications, Capcom at Mission Control, which is an extremely important responsibility. So we got a huge Canadian contingent and contribution to this 10-day mission, this 10-day journey to the moon and back to Earth. So after 2 Earth orbits and 1 lunar orbit, without hopefully there aren't any complications, we'll have another Canadian hero in our midst that's going to be landing on Earth, and we'll have quite the story to tell his grandkids. I'll tell you that. I was really, while you and I were getting set up for the show, and both you and I were watching off on the side, Gary, I had goosebumps and I felt an emotional swell in me when I saw those rockets fire, the engines fire, and the rocket shifted off the platform. And it wasn't just as a pride as Canadian. I was actually proud that as human beings, we can actually do something marvelous if we all work together and respected each other. And I just found this a very warm moment of enlightenment and happiness, if you want to call it, in comparison to the horrible crap that's going on in the world today, Gary. So it was a very bright moment for me from a perspective as a Canadian, as a human being, in light of everything that's going on in the world. So Godspeed to all of them.
And by the way, in the picture on the screen right now, the tall guy on the left is Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big boy, and when you think about this now, Eddie, he's a tall guy. The other two are tall too, but Jeremy seems to be just a little bit taller and like just bigger frame. And they're all in that capsule, which is the way they describe it as the size of a large SUV. And they're in there. They're in there probably about 10 hours before liftoff today, and they're in there for the next 10 days. And there's no getting up and moving around or anything. Very little of it anyway. It's amazing when you think about it. And, just watching that rocket go off today, and just even the camera shots that we're getting now, that back in 1969, that hot July evening when the first moon mission went up, and I remember getting home from work and sitting down in front of the black and white TV and watching it. And it was really, really something to see. And then watching the first television shots from the surface of the moon, as grainy as they were, unbelievable. Another memory of that, a few years later, I was at the Calgary Stampede, and the theme of the exhibit part of the Stampede was around space, and they had a setup, and I'm sure the conspiracy types went nuts because the setup they had in this exhibit hall was of the actual capsule in the moon rover, and you would swear that you were right there on the surface of the moon. It was that well done with the lighting and everything else, the way it was set up. Unbelievable. And it really helped to drive home what I had watched a couple of years earlier on grainy black and white television transmissions. And again, much like our audio tonight on the internet, cracking up and breaking up. So, so were the communications back and forth between Earth and the moon. Now, ultimately, the U.S. has decided it's not going to go with a new space station. It has turned its attention now. NASA is charged with building a moon base. And one of the things that they're doing on this flyby, one thing they're looking for is a couple of areas in particular they're going to be looking in on to check and see if there's an indication of water. Whether, like if there's ice in a couple of these areas. They suspect there is, based on, I guess, satellites and manned ships flying, going by. So they suspect that there is, and that's one of the things that they'll be checking on. And of course, it's the first manned mission for the Artemis rocket and the capsule. So, like you said, it's a number of firsts. And not only that, and it's going to be interesting to follow this over the next 10 days for sure, but not only that, it's a first in another area because Canada's only independent brewery in St. John, New Brunswick, that's Moosehead. We've talked about Moosehead in the past. Well, they've teamed up with the Physics House in Ontario and developed what could become a space staple someday. Moosehead Lager freeze-dried beer. Truly an all-Canadian snack. Now, if you want to find, I was going to try and play the company's video on the Moosehead Instagram site where they talk about how the freeze-dried beer was developed. But there was music in the background, and I thought, even, they would have had copyright clearance, but I don't want to chance it with YouTube's artificial intelligence all of a sudden saying, you don't have copyright clearance, and we get hit with it. So, but if you want to see the video on it, go to the Moosehead Instagram page.